here's the dirt on 55 plus communities. Did you know that over 10% of all American seniors live in a 55 plus community? So that just shows you how popular they are, but not everybody's happy. And I think before you make a decision like this, you need to know both the positives as well as the negatives. Okay, so the number one complaint that people have about 55 plus communities is one of the things that they like, but it's also one of the things that they dislike. And that's the Homeowners Association, the HOA. These 55 plus communities tend to have a ton of rules and regulations. And it's one of the things that seniors like. But you can also feel kind of squashed by these rules. They can say, how many nights you can have visitors staying at your house, how many nights you can have your adult children or your grandkids staying with you, how many hours a day you can keep your garage door open, whether you can have a pet, how many pets you can have, what size pet that you can have, how many vehicles that you can have, whether you can have a golf cart or not have a golf cart. So the HOA can be a good thing. It can keep up the quality that originally attracted you to the HOA, but it can also feel stifling. And so one of the things I encourage people to do is ask for a copy of the most recent, maybe the last year worth of meeting notes. The HOAs are typically run by volunteers, and in 55 plus communities, people have a lot more time on their hands now than they did maybe when they were raising their own family. So sometimes when you have controlling folks that volunteer to be on a board like that, and they have a lot more time on their hands, that can be a real negative. So while it's nice that the facilities are kept up and you don't have to worry about the maintenance, it can also drive you a little nuts. So ask for a copy of the most recent meeting notes so you can kind of see, what are the issues that people are talking about and complaining about, and what is the focus of the HOA. Another thing is ask for a copy of the budget. The last thing you want to do is buy into a 55 plus community and then find out, there's going to be a special assessment for maintenance that wasn't kept up on in the last 20 years. And here you are in your first year as a homeowner, and you've got to pay for that deferred maintenance. You don't want to be in that situation. Also, the deed covenants, that's going to tell you things like the HOA rules that I talked about earlier. So those are things that you want to look into. Also, any fines that have been levied, how tough are they in enforcing the rules? Are they, generally, hey, we'd appreciate it if you did this or you did that, or are they leveling stiff fines on members of the HOA? Okay, so that's the first one. Another one is the 55 plus communities tend to be expensive. You can buy a bigger house, a house with nicer finishes on it outside of a 55 plus community than inside of a 55 plus community. And would you rather have that nicer home, that larger home? Or would you rather have that sense of community and the activities that come with that and the way to connect with other folks? Some of us I like hanging around with younger people. I like living in a neighborhood where, there's people my age, but there's also people, young families, and there's kids that are, constantly growing up and heading off to college. And there's like the new batch of young kids that are kind of growing up. I like that, but maybe in 10 years, I won't like that. Okay. Another thing is, it's a change when you move to 55 plus. Many of us have lived in our communities. I've lived in the same town for close to 30 years now. I have a lot of friends. When I go to the grocery store, it's unusual for me to go to the grocery store without somebody coming up and saying, "Hey, Azul, it's great to see you." That said, my neighborhood has long, hard winters. And the time may come where, moving to Arizona or moving to Florida or California and being in a 55 plus community and not having to deal with the winter as much as I enjoy winter sports, the time may come where I'm looking forward to that, but I will miss my old neighborhood. And some folks, when they initially move in, find themselves missing their old neighborhood. And I would just say, know that that's normal. And the best way to get over that is to plug into the new community, to get involved, to be involved in the activities, to be involved in the communities. I've never played pickleball, but I know that that's super popular with 55 plus. And as my knees get older, pickleball is probably in my future as well, as opposed to running 5 miles or going on mountain bike rides and things like that. So that's a plus. Now, here's another thing. For the guys of us in the audience, it's a positive. For the women, it's probably a negative, maybe not. But there's a lot more women in these 55 plus communities than men. The reports that I've read show that there's, for every 1 male, there's 3 females in 55 plus. So guys, you know, the numbers are going to work in your favor. And for women, you want to know that when you're moving in, that it might be a lot harder if you're single now, if maybe you're widowed or divorced or you've never been married. If you're a woman, it may be a lot harder to meet somebody if that's something that you're interested in. Okay. The other thing, you know, one of the things that really attracts people to 55 plus, I know it's one of the things that'll attract me, is they tend to have nice amenities. They have a nice pool. Oftentimes they have golf courses, tennis courts, pickleball courts. But you know what? They're not free. We're all paying for that. And in some communities, they even have like free happy hour. You know, every Friday night they have a mixer and they have an open bar for a couple hours. And that's great if you enjoy that open bar. But it's not free, you know, it's coming out of your HOA fees. And if you don't enjoy doing that, or if you reach a stage in your life where you're like, you know, been there, done that, I'm not that interested in it anymore. Guess what? Every month you continue to pay, your dues are paying for those free drinks for somebody else. So that's something to think about. The amenities are not free and they can be expensive. And after a while, maybe you're not taking full advantage of those, but yet you're still paying the full price for those. The other thing is, you know, when it comes time to sell, the community down the street that was just built, well, their amenities are all new. And the amenities in the facility that you bought 20 years ago, well, you know what? By definition, those amenities are 20 years old. You know, your pool is 20 years old. The gym is 20 years old. The yoga room is 20 years old. Some of the yoga mats hopefully aren't 20 years old, but they might be 5 years old. You get the idea. The facilities are a little bit older. And then probably the second biggest complaint is people in that community, it can be cliquish. And if you're part of that clique, well, good for you. You know, I'm not a clique type person. I believe in communities. I want to welcome people. And I personally enjoy building communities. But there's a lot of complaints from people that live in 55 plus that, you know what, they can be cliquish. And if that's not something that you vibe with, that's good for you to know ahead of time. Another thing that's good for you to know ahead of time is, you know, as you're approaching 55 plus, you're entering what I call the youth of your senior years. And I've done a video on 8 things that I want you to think about, stop doing as you get older in order to enjoy the youth of your senior years. So watch this video here. Thanks for watching this one. I'll see you inside of this video. Next one. Bye-bye.